So I know I've talked before about trying to be a place on the internet where everybody's opinion matters and just being a bright spot. I think it's pretty safe to say that the internet is just not a very friendly place for opinions. And I kind of learned that, not really, I already knew that, but one of the videos that was a little more decisive on this channel over the last year was the video I made about Concord and how it was upsetting the internet. Now, I didn't really say much about my own opinion in that video because frankly, I just didn't really have one. I thought the game looked kind of boring. Nothing much else happened with it. And my comment section was pretty much filled with people giving their own opinions, which I totally welcome. You're welcome to give your opinions in this video too. Now, myself, like most people in the gaming sphere, completely forgot about Concord after that. I seriously cannot tell you when the game came out, when there was a marketing push. I just forgot about its existence. And for me, that is such a red flag for a multiplayer hero shooter type of game. I grew up playing these types of games. I still play these types of games more than anything else, and I completely forgot about it. One of my biggest points in the Concord is making the internet angry video was talking about how this game just feels like it should be free to play, and how I personally felt that the game was not going to succeed unless they changed their minds. And of course, Sony didn't, and the studio didn't, and the game launched at $40, and now here we are 14 days, 2 weeks after its initial announcement of being launched. We are literally sitting here less than a month out from this game being in people's hands. This game was in development for 8 years. It reportedly had anywhere from a $100 to $200 million budget, and Sony is pulling the fucking plug on it. Today, it was announced by Sony that it is basically calling it a day on Concord. Concord is no longer going to be available. It is no longer going to be up. The servers are going to be taken down, and people are going to be fully refunded pretty much as of September 6th, 2024, which is oddly the same day that Astrobot releases. Now, I don't think that has anything to do with Concord shutting down, but I think that's fucking hilarious because I genuinely believe if we're able to pull the numbers from how many people have either wishlisted or pre-ordered Astrobot, it would be astronomically higher than the sales of Concord. Obviously, Astrobot is a much different game, and it is a much more kind of relaxed experience. It appeals to a lot more people, but even if you just forget about that, I think that this Concord game was always set up to fail, and the fact that it's being taken down when Astrobot is going to fling through the ranks and shine is just so ironic and funny. Like, to me, Astrobot is really the chance to show PlayStation and all of these other devs and all of these other companies and publishers and whoever that we want games like that. We don't always need huge AAA massive productions, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 hour games. Sometimes a 10-hour game is enough. If it's well made, that's more than enough. And speaking of well made, that is one of the things that I find so funny about Concord. Concord, at least to me, I played the beta, the game ran fine. From what I can find anyway, the game didn't really have any issues in terms of servers or running or really just anything like that. The biggest complaint that I saw was that Concord just was boring. And we don't have the Sony numbers, and I doubt, especially now that the game's getting pulled, that we ever will. But I know that there was that huge story a couple days ago where Concord had peaked at like 627 players on Steam. If you don't know anything about gaming, I feel like you even know that that is a fucking awful number to peak at. Now, I don't know if this is technically a first-party game. Like, I just don't know. But honestly, if you took someone who didn't follow gaming news and showed them all of the promotional material from Sony, they would probably think it is. It's funny because Sony this year, like, yes, Helldivers 2 was very successful in the PC space, but it honestly, at least in my opinion, has fallen off very hard. There are probably still a lot of people that enjoy that game and play that game. I'm not comparing it to Concord in any way because I think Helldivers 2 is in a whole other league than Concord, okay? But from where we sit right now, this year for Sony, like, live service titles has not been good. At least the last few ones have just not been very successful. I bet Helldivers 2 made them a lot of money and they don't really care that now it just isn't holding up anymore. But the fact that we have Helldivers 2 and then we have Concord, and then you kind of compare it to a game like Black Myth Wukong that sold 10 million units in its first week being a game from a studio that's never made anything. Like, it's just so funny to me. Obviously, I don't think this is just a Sony problem. I think this is very much a live service game problem. I mean, we saw it with Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, and now Rocksteady is going through massive layoffs because they put so much stock into these games working. I swear, I will die on the hill that games like Fortnite, Warzone, even you could say like Valorant to a good degree, has even like League of Legends has really just hurt the gaming industry so much because people release these games and they want to have these massive turnovers and they want to have these huge experiences for online players to have, and outside of some of the ones I mentioned and a few others, it just isn't that sustainable and it just isn't that welcomed. Now, I don't know if it's from people being fatigued from live service games or if it's a mix of this game just didn't look appealing, it didn't look unique, it looked a lot worse than its competitors like Overwatch or any other hero shooter. Like Marvel Rivals looks way more interesting than this game, and I still don't know how that game's gonna do. But man, this is definitely going in the stinker bin of 2024. I mean, it's just I hate laughing because I know that there are probably some really talented devs on this team that just didn't really want to make this game, and they were probably forced into it. But man, it's just so funny. Like, it's so fucking ironic about the date it's getting shut down and just how funny like the entire release around this was. If it wasn't for Asmongold's Twitch clips being recommended to me on my YouTube homepage, I would have completely forgot that this game even existed. Now, I don't want to say I was right because I don't really call that this game was going to fail as fast as it did, but I don't know if I said it in the video or if I ended up cutting it out, because I do actually edit these videos and I do cut out a lot of the bullshit that I say, that I really felt like this game was not going to last 6 months to a year, like at all. And I kind of called it because it didn't even last half of that time. It lasted 2 weeks. But yeah, so I guess we're going to see what happens. Hopefully in the future, this game is brought up in meetings to kind of show like what not to do, how to not treat the audience in terms of being a community manager or in terms of just being a dev for the game who's very outspoken. Calling everyone who gives it feedback monsters and idiots is just not a very good look. Hopefully Sony learns from this, because I mean, again, they're having a lot of hits with games like Black Myth Wukong. I do believe that Astrobot is going to be a very good and hopefully very successful experience, but this game, Concord, has utterly failed, and I don't really know what's next. I hope Sony kind of dials it back, and all these other studios, Warner Brothers, Xbox, everybody just kind of dials back the live servicey stuff. I just don't think it really works, especially if there's not something super unique about the game. Anyways, let me know why you think Concord failed in the comment section down below. I love to hear it. I love to hear and discuss it with all of you like normal. And this has been Wicked, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.